Yeah, I mean,
They're everywhere.
they're out there. A lot of the times, if you find one fish, it's going to be a big one. It's one of those fish that lives by itself and just chills out. Those are usually unicorn fish.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. We're here in the studio at Hook One Bait and Tackle. We got our friend Capt Joe,
What's up?
got our buddy Louie,
Finally back.
obviously men of many words. Today we got a pretty cool episode. We're gonna sit down. These guys are obviously more qualified to talk about it than I am.
That's for sure.
Yeah, they're not wrong, but I'm still here to talk about it. We're gonna talk a lot about basically how Lake St Clair is a premier walleye. I mean, oh god.
Smallmouth.
Oh, we're off to a rough start, y'all. We're here to talk about how smallmouth are dominating Lake St. Clair right now. The Elite Series was just here. They put up some epic bags. Joe's been out there daily just about chasing smallmouth all around the lake. So that's what we're here to talk about, yeah?
That's right.
What do you think it is that sets Lake St. Clair apart from a lot of the other fisheries out there? Like, why is it that the smallmouth are just dominating out there and it's such a good fishery?
One of the biggest factors, there's two really big factors. One is there's no dead water in the entire lake. The deepest it naturally gets is about 22, 23 feet, and a smallmouth can live in 100% of that lake. They're not going to be in, there's no 100-foot, 200-foot holes where, the smallmouth just aren't going to live there. They can live on the bottom of the lake in 100% of the lake. And then you've got just an endless supply of food. It's just a super fertile fishery. We've got crawfish, we've got emerald shiners, perch right now. We've got smelt that are coming down from Lake Huron. They say there's a lot of alewives out there, even though I have never seen one, but we'll take their word for it.
Yeah, whoever they are, we'll listen to them. But yeah, man, we talk about it a lot, but like the whole system right now is in really good shape. There's just so much bait. There's so much food for these fish to eat. I mean, Louie was literally out this morning in a totally separate area that it was really interesting. Like, you guys that watch the Elite Series, like, they only fished 70% of that field only fished a small section of the lake, like the smallest section of the lake, really. And there's just so much more to be had. I mean, Louie had a banger day out there fishing some more of the river waters. The lake's been really good. I mean, what are you guys seeing?
I think the Elite Series really blew it. I think there could have been bags over 100 pounds.
I agree.
To win the tournament. And I think a lot of those guys just wussed out, didn't want to travel. I mean, we launched up in Brandenburg Park.
Yep.
They got one out in the middle of the lake, and there's no fish in Canada. Yeah, okay. It's because you didn't find any locals to go bum their spots out in the middle of the lake.
And that, I mean, they were all fishing, within 5 miles of the launch, 7 miles from the launch. It seemed like a majority were just sitting on live scope, hunting over weed patches. And without giving away any waypoints, there's some really good fishing to be had out there. And a lot of the locals, a lot of the guides, a lot of your friends, a lot of guys that we know were putting up big bags while these guys were here catching fish, putting up their bags. And it's like, there's way more to this fishery.
Oh, yeah. There's 430 square miles, and 80% of the field stuck within 5 minutes of the boat launch. Like, come on, guys. I know there's a lot of fish up there, but they weren't catching 50 fish a day. It's just, there's not that many fish up there. There's a lot of fish right now for some reason. It's not normal.
Right.
But, when you're catching fish, if you catch fish every 10 minutes, it seems like, oh, I'm doing really good. And compared to, like, those guys fish down south, and they're fishing for 7 bites in a whole 8-hour tournament.
Yep.
And you get, like, 25 bites, and you're like, whoa, like, I caught one every 5 minutes. You get really excited.
There's a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of fish in that, like, 2 to 3 pound range, which didn't help those guys out a ton. But it was just cracking us up because we're sitting here watching this come in, and, you know, they're up there on the stage talking about how great of a fishery we have and how excellent this fishery is and this and that. And I'm like, you guys haven't even scratched it. Like, obviously, like, we're locals, so we get to see it all the time, but you guys haven't even scratched. Like, as good as you think it is, it's better. And I definitely think there should have been multiple 100-pound bags.
Yeah, I mean, they scratched the surface, and, like, the surface is really good, but they didn't dive very deep. and I think they could have done. I really think there's 100 pounds out there when they were here.
Yeah.
And I mean, those fish that they're catching, a lot of them were skinny. And if you go out a little bit deeper, those fish are eating a little bit more protein, the crawfish, and there's more gobies out in the main lake than there is in Anchor Bay. Like,
Yeah.
they're eating perch up there and they're eating crawfish, and they got to roam around and hunt them. They're spiny, they don't digest well, so you get those goby eaters out in the middle of the lake that are fat. And then,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a totally different grade fish. They don't even look the same.
and you don't need to catch 100 fish a day when you're fishing a tournament like that. You need 5. And,
Yep.
I mean, it's cool to catch like 53 pounders, even though you're probably not catching 50, probably more like 20 to 25.
Right.
But it's really fertile. There's all different size class fish out there. But when they say like the fish group up by size in the lake, I don't know about that. I caught a lot of 5-pounders and catch a 5-incher on the next cast.
Find the babies in there.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely group up.
Louie, what have you been seeing out there?
Yeah, Louie.
Why don't you chime in?
I haven't fished the lake much this year, but
Have you ever fished the lake, Louie?
I have
In the summer?
in the summer.
Never seen you out there.
I know you got to give me some credit for that. I might hit the lake more in the summer on accident, but I do.
I mostly fish the river for bass, but I have been watching like the Elite series, like everybody, like Scott Martin, Drew Benton. They're all posting their videos now, and like you can tell, like video by video by video, they're all fishing too shallow in the river. It's hard to find like deep river structure that's gonna hold like your 4.5 to 5.5 like pound class fish, but it didn't even look like any of them really like made the effort to find those deep fish where they're gonna pull that 25-pound bag.
I just don't think you think about it. Like when we talk about it, it's like we're catching fish in 30 plus foot of water in the river on tubes. It's like, what the hell is, like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
you're specifically targeting these fish 30 plus feet. And, you know, Joe mentioned it. The lake is shallow. It's a shallow lake. So I don't think most people even think about targeting those fish out deep. Those ones are fat. Those ones eat well.
yeah. During the tournament or during practice, we were out there, and it was like 30 to 35 feet of water was where like the big fish were like sitting, and we were actively catching them. And everybody that drove by was fishing maybe 20 foot at the deepest, and if it was deeper than 20 foot, they were leaving.
Yeah.
And I mean, the results show. I mean, there's a lot of fish in the river shallow. You're just not going to get your 25-pound bags that you need.
You're not getting the right ones.
And like all the dock talk too is Scott Dobson's probably won the most money on this body of water out of everybody, and that guy fishes shallow up in the river. And you follow the dock talk, and I mean that guy is on another level. Like these guys aren't going to find what he's found in 30 years in 3 days. It's just not gonna happen.
Especially with low water this year.
Yeah. And I think you nailed it. Like we talk about how a lot of that field got stuck up in Anchor Bay, and like now, I mean, for the locals that fish Anchor Bay, I'm sorry, because it's done. Like there's been so many guys from out of town, and it happens. I mean, the next 18 months are going to be packed up here with bass fishermen. It's just gonna keep going and going and going, and that doesn't even include like all the club tournaments. But you get that field up there that hits that spot, and they find fish. And I know all the communication rules are different, but those guys are always talking, and that's where they all got hung up. But Joe, you hit it on the head, dude. There's no dead water. So for you to break down all that water, and the only dead water, I guess, is the spots where it's 3 foot of water and 2.5 foot of weeds. So it's like there's no dead water. You've got to break all this down. Odds are when you're launching from Brandenburg, some of the best spots are not close. But you've got to get out there and fish it. So like if you're coming up to St. Clair, kind of take what we're saying and run with it. Like obviously Anchor Bay is a good fishery, but there is some, I mean, we were sitting on the shipping channel the other day walleye fishing, and we were catching walleyes using drop shot. So that's what we were doing. We were drop shotting walleyes, 26 foot of water on the edge of the shipping channel, pounding smallmouth. I mean, on accident. And so it's like it's just that is a testament to like how good the fishery is right now and how many fish are in the system. But to like, how do you even start breaking down a lake? You pull up to a lake that's a giant sand bowl with some weeds. Like, how do you even start breaking that down?
So when you roll up to Lake St. Clair, the biggest thing about finding fish is kind of knowing what they're doing. And it's going to differ from the spring, the winter, fall, summer. Like right now, you can kind of catch them anywhere in the middle of the lake. You just got to get out into that cleaner water. Like if you fish here, you kind of know what I'm talking about. The water next to shore will get kind of funky. It'll get like green, brownish a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's from runoff coming out of the canals, and it just kind of gets stagnant by shore. There's not a lot of current right up there. So if you get out into the further in the lake and you get that bluer water, that's what you're gonna want to focus on. And then it's just kind of milling around, watching your graph, and just paying attention to it. You need bait, and I mean, if they're eating perch and they're eating gobies and crawfish, you're not gonna see that bait on your graph, so it doesn't really matter. That you're gonna have to start looking for like grass, sand, and transitions. And I'll just kind of, if I'm looking for new stuff, I'll drive around and kind of look for what I want to see, whether that's a hard weed edge or sand flat, or there's just little birch grass on it,
Yep.
or just like big balls of grass. And those fish are gonna relate to them at different times throughout the year, and you just kind of want to figure out what they're using. And then once you get a couple bites, just keep running that, and you'll figure it out real quick. I mean, it's a really big. I mean, it's a really big lake, but it's patternable. I mean, if you're
Oh, yeah.
fishing sand, catch them and they stop biting, just look at it on your graph, and even if it's just on 2D, look at it, what it looks like, how tall the grass is, and then go find some more of that. And
Yep.
don't like necessarily stay in the same 100-yard stretch. Go off like a mile or so, and if you see that same kind of like depth and you see the same grass, start fishing, and you'll know real quick if there's life around. Just watch that grass. There's like flickers kind of in the water column. That's bait. Good sign.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's just like blank area from the top to the bottom. I'd get the hell out of there if I was you.
Yeah. Odds,
No.
unless you get a roamer.
Yeah, I mean,
They're everywhere.
they're out there, and a lot of the times, if you find one fish, it's going to be a big one. Kind of one of those fish that lives by itself and just chills out. Those are usually unicorn fish.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
ones, 5-6 pounders.
Louie, what do you think? What's your, I mean, obviously you said you haven't been fishing the lake as much. When you go to break down, say, a spot in the river, or you're going to break down like a spot on the lake, what are you kind of looking for?
Like,
Obviously the river is going to be different, so make sure you clarify.
Dude, I've
'Cause
wasted a lot of time in that river.
It's tough, man. It's tough, but when you get on them, it's so worth it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like big fish and like numbers of fish, there's like obviously a difference, like what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm just going for numbers of fish, I'm going shallow, like less than 20 feet of water, and I'm finding like a current break with an eddy that has a ton of bait in it. Like if I drive by it with the trolling motor and I like can't see bait on the top of the water, I'm moving.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. Like there has to be an insane amount of bait like the past couple years, or they're not there. But I mean, as long as there's like minnows, crawfish, I mean, they'll eat them in the river, but there's not like a whole ton of them from what I've found. And then gobies are big, but
Yep.
I mean, mostly just turn eddies with a ton of minnows.
Yeah.
Is like what numbers of them hold on.
I think there's too much current in the river. I think the current's too strong for crawfish. I think
Yeah.
they like that kind of more stagnant water.
Yep.
Like to be able to move around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Their food, because there's a ton of them out in the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest misconception of Lake St Clair is you're fishing rock piles.
Yeah.
Like if you come here and you're set on fishing rock piles in the summertime, good luck.
Good luck finding them under the
Yeah,
weeds.
so my number is 517-526-1304. I'll show you some rock piles.
Boom, smash the link below. Smallmouth having guide service, LakeStClairBass.com.
It's weird because the rock piles look like grass on my graph, but I swear they're rock.
Yeah. But like, I've heard some really, really cool stories from divers that like when they're diving in the river, they always talk about how shy fish can be down there. And they say smallmouth will follow you like a dog because they wait for you to flip over that rock. And usually whatever crawfish, and they say that, and they did say that, they say they find a few crawfish, but it's mostly gobies is what they're finding. And when they flip those rocks over, a lot of the times the current will kind of push those goby or crawfish down. And the smallmouth are like right behind them feeding. I think that's so cool to hear those stories because it's like they know where their food is coming from. It's under those rocks. And if someone moves those rocks, they're going to get into it. But when you get out onto the lake and you're over that perch grass and that short grass, when we're out in the shipping channel, it's crazy how much bait that we're marking that's just coming through. It's not really sitting out there. It's just going through. And if you can find those spots in that grass, you're in good shape.
Yeah. Like in the river,
You're good.
like when you're looking for like big fish, like deep, you want to find like a big log jam or a big rock pile, like something that's gonna break up the current on the bottom. Even like steep drop offs, so you can watch the bottom kind of like transition, like from like shallow water to kind of deeper water. Um, the smallmouth are gonna hang out, but breaking them off bottom is like the biggest thing. You're not gonna catch them if they're just stuck at the bottom. You can see them on side scan. You
Yep.
can see them sitting behind the rocks. You're not gonna put a tube 2 inches behind a rock when it's flowing 3 miles an hour. It's just
The current's just not gonna let it.
no.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not possible.
Snag City keeps
Yeah.
us in business.
So like once you get the first one or the first couple, they kind of start breaking off. They'll start roaming. You kind of figure out like an area. It becomes less spot dependent. But like this year, I started throwing like big baits, like big mag drafts, and they'll start to follow it. And then you kind of follow it up with like a drop shot or a Ned rig or a tube, and it seems like it helps a lot.
I blew out a couple really good spots this year at the mag draft because I threw it out there. I'm like, oh, you know how it is. Like, you pull up and the first fish you get's a big one. So, all right, I'm pull up, I'm throw that mag draft. Here comes 7 5-pounders following it back to the boat, and then they saw the boat. Yeah, they're not biting. So
No.
yep, blew that spot up. Come back 3 days maybe and see if I can get one to bite. They
Yeah.
love to follow those big baits, but it's a really good tool to find stuff.
They
Yeah,
do the
like-
same thing when you're musky jigging. Like when we're out there in the river and we're musky jigging, like those Bondi baits with those big Colorado blades on the back. You'll be sitting there jigging on live scope and you'll see these fish follow it up, follow it down, follow it up, follow it down. Finally, I'm just like, well, what the hell? Drop a drop shot down. And you're like, gee, you got a whole school of smallmouth following some 7-ounce Bondi bait with a big spinner on it. It's definitely, there's something to be said.
It's crazy how curious those smallmouth are too. They kind of act like muskies almost. Like since I've had live scope for a couple years now, and you'll see them. They just follow the boat. Like you're drifting out there, you might be going a half mile an hour, and you're like, that smallmouth is still 20 feet away. Like you see it on your graph.
Yeah.
You know how far away it is. And it's been like a couple minutes. It's like he's literally going the same speed as the boat. And like as soon as you get a good cast to it, a lot of times if you can see them, you can catch them.
Mhm.
But if they're down in that grass, I don't care who you are. Like you're not seeing fish in the grass on your live scope unless they're moving, and
Right.
you're not seeing fish in the grass beside of you. You're just full of shit if you're gonna tell me you can see them in the grass.
It's just, and especially like out there, those thick patches that you get through it. I mean, you might see something that look. I think the problem is a lot of the times it's like you're scanning by and you see something that looks like a fish, and 9 times out of 10 you'll stop and cast at it, and it is what it is, and you're like, oh, he's not biting. And then the one time you'll pull a fish, and you're like, oh, those are fish, and it's like, probably not. Unfortunately, like probably not.
And it's like out there too. There's a lot of current, and our grass, if it's 3 feet tall, there's no current, it stands straight up. So now you get a little current, and it starts to bend over at the top.
Yep.
Well, right there where my wrist is, that's an arch. That's what your fish looks like on duty.
Yep.
That thing ain't gonna bite. Like, I
Well,
don't
it is.
care.
But you're gonna bring salad up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, dude, they're here. I know that. I'm like,
Sorry.
nah, man. Like, if they're above that grass and you can see them on your, like, it's really hard to tell on 2D, but on the down imaging, you can definitely see. And on live scope, you can definitely see too. And if they're up, you can see them in the grass. But if they're like, there's definitely periods, especially in the summertime, where they get in that grass and they're just resting. I think they're just digesting their food from the morning, and they're gonna wait until they get that digested. Wait till about 1:30, and then they're gonna eat again and come up. And it's like you go through an area the wrong time when they're just down there, belly to the bottom, you can't see them. You could go through some really good fish at the wrong time and not catch anything.
Yeah, no doubt. That's pretty messed up to think too, because it's like, how many spots have you maybe just drifted through? Like, you only have time to give it one rip. You know what I mean? You drift through it and you don't catch anything, and you're like, I'm out of here. And then you got a bad taste in your mouth, so odds are you're probably not going to go back. But it just could have been bad timing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to do with experience. Like,
Yeah.
kind of figure out when to hit things. Like, later in the day, mid morning, when the bite's slow, I'll go to some spots that have a little bit more current, maybe. And when there's a little bit more current, fish are more apt to eat a little bit,
Yep.
especially if that current's ripping, and just puts them in a better mood. Whereas if they're out in stagnant water, belly to the bottom, or what you throw, like, unless you put a perch rig down there,
Yeah.
then maybe they'll get them to fire. But
if they don't want to eat, they're not eating.
yeah, they've seen 472,000 drop shots since June. Yeah, they're not in the mood.
Yeah.
Trick them with one of those. I don't care who you are.
No, so that's kind of what I wanted to roll into. Is talking about bait. Ooh, is talking about bait and what is it? I mean, you could walk into a Bass Pro or something like that and see a billion different baits, but I mean, realistically, we're probably only using 5 max out here. I mean, the drop shot is it's personally my favorite drop shots, Ned rigs, tubes. But what are you gonna throw when you get out there? I mean, obviously, it's gonna. I don't know. That's a tough question to ask. It's going to vary, right?
Yeah,
like, you're going to throw crankbaits. You're going to throw top waters.
It all depends on the weather.
Yeah.
In my boat, anyways, just depends on like where I'm fishing, what the bottom is, and the weather. Whether it's cloudy or sunny makes a difference. Whether it's windy or calm makes a difference.
Yep.
I mean, whether I'm fishing grass that's 2 feet tall or 6 inches tall makes a difference. It just, I mean, I probably have 500 pounds of flat in my boat sometimes.
Yeah.
And then what's weird is in the summer I don't carry any tube. It's all drop shot, Ned rig, and a couple little sneaky deals I've got. But yeah, I mean, it's just like when it's calm, and the way you fish the things is gonna differentiate too between the weather. Like when it's windy, you can put some action into that bait, wiggle it around. Your sinker can come up off the bottom, and
Yeah.
those fish are excited. They can't see the boat because the surface is all broken up from the wind, and they're gonna eat most likely. But you just have to have something that you can like. You drop your bait in the water, and it's hard for you to see. The fish aren't gonna see it,
Right.
especially smallmouth. Like they're sight feeders. They like the sun, and if they can't see it, they're not gonna. It's not like it's just gonna drift close to their mouth. Like those fish will come a long ways to eat a bait, and they don't have like their eyes aren't as good as a walleye. Like a walleye can see things like
Yeah.
really good, so you can use different like I don't know camouflage colors basically in the middle of the day, and they can find them. And see, whereas a
Yeah.
smallmouth, like if it's dark out, you need to throw something bright or like not translucent, something that they can see, something that's got some pigment.
Yeah, dude. I'm colorblind and dumb. So it took me a long time to realize that like walleye colors are not smallmouth colors.
No.
And once you get set on, I will say I finally set myself in, and I'm comfortable with what I'm using. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Gobi pattern.
If you're coming here and you don't have any like smallmouth baits per se,
Mm-hmm.
get green pumpkin. Like that's all you need. Green pumpkin, I don't care. Green pumpkin, purple plate. Green pumpkin, black plate. Green pumpkin, green. Just get green pumpkin. Green pumpkin, anything.
Yeah. If it starts with green pumpkin, buy it.
Yeah, I mean that's like if you have one color, that's the color you need.
And a lot of the times our water is pretty clean. Like we have really, really good conditions a majority of the time. The lake will get stirred up and stuff, but I've noticed that with smallmouth. Like if the water gets tinted or if it gets colored up, it does get a lot harder. It can be a lot more finesse to get them, and you can't just be sitting there floating. I hope one swims by.
You can be waiting for a while. And it just depends too. Like in the summertime, we've got all that healthy grass out there. It holds the sediment down, so it can get windy and it can get rough out there, and the sediment's gonna stay on the bottom because we got all those big root systems from all that grass out there,
Yep.
where it doesn't get stirred up. Now in September, that eelgrass starts to die, breaks off from the stem and floats up, and then it's hard to drink and hard to do anything moving.
Yeah.
But then there's nothing holding that sediment down too. So you get a big wind day in September and October, and it can really stir things up. And that sediment comes up off the bottom, and it's really hard to catch fish in that dirtier water. You've got to change things up, use different colors, and try and find cleaner water if you can. And it's tough because you got to have cleaner water, and then you've got to have fish in that cleaner water.
Right.
So it's just you got to cover a lot of water out there, and there's 430 square miles.
So speaking of covering water, I think you would both agree with me here. So this is kind of a stupid question, but if you were to come to St. Clair, you have to have a Canadian license to effectively fish it. Would you agree?
I mean, it all depends. Like if you have a 30-mile-an-hour west wind, probably not going to Canada.
Yeah.
But if the weather allows it, you need both licenses.
Yeah.
Like you to be effective, and like when I'm running my guide trips, like I want the clients to catch fish. That's how I get tips. That's how they come back and they tell their friends,
Yep.
post pictures on social media. You guys eat it up. And if they don't have both licenses or don't want to buy it, don't want to spend the extra $12 for a Canadian license, like you're really handicapping yourself. Like it's not even like up for debate. Like if your guide or your buddy tells you need a Canadian license, don't even argue with them. Like you need it, and it's for your benefit.
Yeah. I mean, Louie and I have talked about it a lot, like in the river, like here alone. And that's why I say the whole St. Clair system, really from here on all the way to Lake Erie, whether you're fishing St. Clair River, Lake St. Clair, Detroit River, you should really have both licenses because there's so much water on the Canadian side, and it's totally, I know it sounds stupid, but it's totally different than what we've got here. Totally different.
Totally. And like we're guides, we get $0 from a fishing license sale.
Yep.
So I don't care how many licenses they sell, but if we tell you you need it, like we're not getting anything in return. So we just want you to catch fish.
No.
So listen to Pete and listen to
Cat and Louie.
Yeah, I mean, smallmouth in the river are way different. Like, I never even thought about going to Canada today just because there's so many spots in such a little area, in the channels at least.
What is that area, Louie? Like
Uh,
specifics, like the exact specifics of that area.
it's down south from here.
Can you send me the waypoints?
Good luck.
Post the waypoints.
You're better off getting all that booze Louie won on Saturday at that raffle.
Yeah.
Surprised you made it to work today.
Yeah.
But like
Me too.
September, like October, there's no doubt you're probably not fishing the US side in the river.
No, it just
It's just different.
yeah.
Those fish move from side to side like quite often. It seems like you're either fishing the American side, and if you're not on the American side, you're
The
not
minnows don't
going
move.
back.
The minnows don't move side to side.
No, but I mean, if it's,
God forbid we bring our minnows over there. Oh,
you got me.
that's the bait shop guy in me. Can't take our minnows over there. But no, you're right. They're just back and depending. Some days it can depend on the wind. The wind's gonna blow the bait. Fish are gonna
Yep.
follow the bait.
I mean, when you're fishing too, like if the wind's blowing out of the east, you don't want to fish the west side of the lake. It's
No.
rough. There's a lot of water out there and moving fast. So like you just gotta.
Well, and that's one thing about St. Clair too is we talk about how it's a shallow lake and how it doesn't naturally get deep. Guys, if you're coming out here, like you got to be careful because if that wind does switch up and you're caught, like it is nasty. St. Clair is brutal on your boat. It's brutal on your gear. And you're right. Like when that starts coming across the lake and it's all shallow, it's just the gnarliest chop.
Yeah, I mean there was 6 boats that ran to Lake Erie in the BFL that couldn't get back last weekend. And Towboat US was hauling in a Ranger filled up with water. It was some idiot didn't know what his gear was capable of.
Yeah.
Went out too far and sunk his boat. Have fun with the insurance on that one, Buster.
And that's the problem is you've got these nice boats. There's quality high-end boats, man. Boats are going for 140,000 plus depending how you option it out. It's not going to save you. It's not going to save you. There's no money that's going to protect you from Mother Nature. And like if you take anything out of this episode, even about catching bass, please don't be an idiot out there. Like you got to respect it.
Yeah, this isn't the Grand River. Like
The Grand. The Grand. Yeah, usually we could stay a little protected out here, especially with the channel systems like in the river. You can stay a little protected, but the actual like Lake St Clair and stuff, and the Elite Series got lucky because they were fishing in Anchor Bay and they had offshore winds. But you saw on like that last day where Joey was, he was getting tossed around a little bit when that wind kicked up.
Definitely. I mean, and too, like, you can go just about anywhere in a 15-mile-an-hour wind. You just have to take your time. Like,
Yep.
Joey Fuentes, he left himself an hour and a half to get back. And, like, if it's normal, like that morning, I'm sure it took him, like, maybe 20 minutes to get there. So it's not like he was 100 miles away, but you just got to leave yourself time and just kind of, you don't want to beat yourself up. Use the troughs and just kind of take your time and
Yep.
feather it through there, and you'll be fine. Just use your head. Use your little noodle up there.
Me and Louie out there, Tin Can Army, we're beating our
Shit.
brains in.
I borrowed the Hook one mobile. Had some mechanical issues.
It's a good riverboat. Oh yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. The batteries are a nightmare, dude. It's like, what?
This is what I mean. There's shout out Polar Craft. It lasted the entire day.
But
I'm just glad to have my nitro bag.
I'm telling you, dude, it's just, yeah, it's a different animal. You get out there, and that's kind of what I was saying. Is like, I want to run more trips on the lake. I want to go farther out into the lake. And your summer clientele, like our summer clientele is a little bit different. Our summer clientele seems to be more families, people that want to get out for fun, stuff like that. Well, if you want to go out for fun, you don't necessarily want to be in 2 to 3 footers in an aluminum boat out on the lake. Like, it's just choppy, and I don't care what aluminum boat it is. It's not even, I mean, I love my boat. We've had it for 4 years. It's been great. It's been awesome.
It's awesome. Like,
for what we do in the river, it's perfect.
You can put 17 guys on there.
Yeah, you get out into the lake, like it's all like the heavier the heavier the better once that chop kicks up.
But you still gotta know how to drive it too. Like,
oh yeah,
morons out there beat the shit out of their boats.
You can buy a boat without knowing how to drive it.
Yeah. Go to Harley Ensign on any Saturday from June through September, and you'll see everybody that doesn't know how to drive a boat. They'll be in your way, every single one of them.
So I love watching, I'm going to change the topic here. I love watching a good topwater bite. You like fishing them topwater. That calm, obviously it's got to be calm. But just out in the middle of the lake, whipping topwaters, eh?
I like catching fish. So if the topwater is the way to catch them, like, yeah, if I can catch them on topwater, that's how I want to catch them.
Yeah.
But like,
the clients love it too.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, who doesn't love watching a big blow up?
Dude, it's awesome. And anything you can do visually is gonna trump like looking at a graph any day or blind cast.
Oh yeah.
So like when you can catch them on top water, or even like say a fluke that's going just like put under the surface, but you can still see it, it's awesome. And we've definitely got like times during the year where we can do that. And I mean, Louie up in the river, he's got a little kind of something he's got figured out. But out on the lake, like end of May through the first couple weeks of June, top water can be really good. We've got those mayflies hatching. We've got fish that are still shallow that are either spawning or just wrapped up spawning and are kind of eating those mayflies. And they're everywhere.
Yep.
And the water's clean. You can catch them on top water. It's fun. But I'm not going to try and force it. If you try and force something like that they don't want, good luck. Like, you're wasting time. You got to adapt.
So we're obviously sitting here. It's the summer. It's middle of August. We're recording this, and summer is a great time to fish smallies. But do you guys have like a favorite time of the year to go out there and target them on St. Clair?
Or in the river, my favorite time of year is like.
I'm sorry. Louie has been counting down the days till the end of August or end of July, beginning of August since like May. He's been like, oh, I can't wait till August till I can smallmouth fish. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're passing up all this good fish. I can't wait till August till I can chase smallmouth.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 2 really, really good times a year, and it's when they move into the river heavy, which is like first week in August, maybe second week if we have cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
And then after like a big north wind blow in October. You just go to 30 feet of water, the only clean water in the river, and it doesn't matter what you throw, you're gonna catch one if you're anywhere near a rock.
Can I throw a 1/4 ounce map spinner?
If you get it down there.
It ain't getting down there. It ain't getting down there. Joe?
My favorite time to fish is whenever I don't have a bunch of vultures around my boat trying to sneak in and snatch one off my spot.
So
No, I'm just kidding.
not middle of April till beginning of May.
Yeah, like April through October sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
I love. We went out fishing. One of the first times we ever really fished together is when we went out in November. I think it was for them. And like, dude, I freaking loved that. Like, I've never fished them that late in the fall. That was a ton of fun.
Yeah, like any day it rains and there's nobody out there,
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, it's just the fishing's good. Like this lake is outstanding. The rivers are outstanding. There's fish that are to be caught the whole year. I mean, you guys catch them through the ice. Like there's so many smallmouth in this lake, and it's an awesome fishery. It's world class, and it's just, I mean, there's a couple times I don't like to fish. I can put it that way.
Right.
Like the end of June before the Canadian season opens, like after the kind of the topwater bite fizzles off a little bit, the
Mhm.
last like from June 10th until the Canadian season opens and everyone's stuck on the US side, I hate fishing then. It
It's tough.
sucks. Like that's when I want to walleye fish. The walleye fishing is usually really good.
Mhm.
But when everybody's like stuck in one spot and just kind of ring around the rosy, those times kind of suck. They get really monotonous.
Yeah.
But like after the Canadian season opens, all summer is really fun to fish. You get offshore and catch them, and you can kind of go away from everybody, get a school of fish to yourself, and it's
Mhm.
awesome that, especially if they haven't been pressured very much, you can catch them on whatever you want to catch them on for the most part,
Right.
as long as you're not doing something really dumb. But like, it's unfortunate, like all those guys fishing up in Anchor Bay, like all those fish are gonna get really hard to catch here soon, and they're gonna either just stop biting artificial baits, or they're gonna move because of the pressure.
Yeah.
So like, just if you're coming up here, like get away from the crowds is probably the biggest like thing I can say. Just get away, try and do your own thing, and you can be really rewarded out there in the middle of the lake by yourself. And like, they're gonna bite until you're done catching them. Like
Yep.
But if they're really pressured, it's going to be really tough to keep them biting. You're going to catch one here, one there. It's going to be a little slow. But
And the pressure's only going to increase.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like we said, the next 18 months, and hearing how the guys were talking about from the Elite Series after this tournament, if they come back next year, it's going to be like, but
I mean, they're going to catch them, like,
yeah,
they'll catch them someplace else probably.
that's just how good the fishery is, though.
Yeah.
Like, I swear, like, we're not just pumping it because we live here. We're just pumped that we live on this fishery. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I moved like 3 hours to live here and fish. Like, it's crazy. It's a great fishery. It's so fertile. You can fish for whatever you want. Just the smallmouth fishing is so good, and there's just so many of them that it's really hard to do other things in the summer. Like the walleye fishing kind of slows down, and the perch are scattered, and they're not really, like the big ones are hard to find in the summer. So like, it's just a great time to go smallmouth fishing, and there's plenty of them out there to catch. You don't need to really like. They're pretty easy to catch too
Yeah.
if you get away from everybody. Like throw a flatworm on a drop shot, 3/4 or 3/8 ounce sinker, you're gonna catch some fish. It's kind of
and there's so many way out here is crazy because there's so many ways to catch them, and there's so many places to catch them. Louie's catching them, out deep in the South Channel. You're catching them out in the middle over isolated weeds or whatever it might be. We're fishing the South Channel, say like along the rock pile. Go ahead and try it. There's none there.
dude. Like Louie and I fish probably like 150 to 180 days a year probably on this lake. I've never seen him out there. Not a single time. I've never seen him out there. Not one time.
We only see each other, and I mean, we're out there quite a bit too. We only see each other in one spot, typically.
Yep.
And it's like, you see boats from all over the place fishing all different ways, because obviously you're going to do whatever's comfortable for you, like whatever you have your confidence in. But you see guys up shallow pitching. You guys, you see guys out deep bombing out casts and power fishing for them. Like, it's just so cool. It's really, I like to say, like, we're living in the good old days. We really are.
Yeah. we're spoiled. Like, these are the good old days. And, like, stop eating them. Like, let them get even bigger. Like, eat some walleyes, dang it.
Yeah,
I mean,
please. Conservation's key. No, there's not. Correct me if I'm wrong. We do not. There's no stocking of
None.
smallmouth in Lake St. Clair. It's
Zero.
100% natural, and it is unbelievable. I can't emphasize it enough. Like, the fishing is crazy good. So, like, it's on us and you guys to make sure that the population stays like that and conservation stays like that. So it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, we're just in such a good spot right now. So much bait, so many places for these fish to go, and just so many fish.
Yeah, I mean, like the Ontario province record, smallmouth got broken last fall. It's over 10 pounds. And like the weird thing is all the biologists did all the tests on it. It sucks that fish had to die, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yep.
It was 16 years old. And on the growth chart, it wasn't abnormal. Like, it didn't grow way faster than all the other smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
It was still on that curve of where a smallmouth would be if it got to be 16 years old. So if we take care of this fishery and like don't mess it up, I mean, we're
100%.
humans, like, it's gonna get messed up eventually because humans suck, and like,
Yeah.
but it just is what it is. I mean, we need to make our effort. Like, I don't want to be an accountant. Like, I want to fish for another 25 years, and if this lake or this whole system, if it goes to crap, like, no one's gonna come here anymore. And like restaurant, like, look at the Thumb, like up there where Lake Huron, where the salmon collapse happened.
Exactly.
It's a ghost town. Like, you don't realize it, but
no, not. I don't think a lot of people truly realize it. And like, now that Louie and I mean, you've been in this industry for a while. You worked at Gander Mountain, you worked at Sportsman, so like you've got to see the retail. But like now that me and Louie are in it, we see it too. And like, there's a lot of people that rely on this fishery, from St. Clair shores all the way up to Port Huron. And it's so good. And like, I don't even think the like the restaurants, they don't know it, but I could tell you when I worked in the restaurant, I could point out all the guys from out of town, all the bass fishermen, the guys walking in with the sun shirts and the buffs. And it's like, these guys are fishing and they're spending a bunch of money. Like, it's huge. It's huge.
It's $1 billion industry.
Yes.
And like, everyone in Southeast Michigan takes it for granted. Everyone, all the business owners, unless you're like us, we obviously know firsthand. But like the secondary stuff, the gas stations, the restaurants, the hotels, like they just, like, if it goes away,
the cigarette and Mountain Dew companies.
Oh dear, Mountain Dew is gonna take a hit if there's no more smallmouth here.
No, whoa, hit the table. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, Louie, you've seen it, and you're just a young buck. You know what I mean? It's like, this is a staple all the way up. I mean, what, you're fishing the northern half of the river, and you see all those guys coming up there.
Oh, I mean, I seen it today. There's bass boats everywhere if you go within 5 miles of the lake.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that before the Elite Series.
No,
Right.
yesterday.
But it keeps bringing them back. It's good. It
Yeah.
kind of sucks for us, but I mean, it's good for the fishery. It's good for everywhere around us.
I know, and that's something like me and you always kind of go back and forth on, is like, as much as like, as bait shop owners and business people, like, we really, really want people to come here and fish. And obviously, now that all three of us are captains, we'd really love if y'all paid us to come here and fish.
Yeah, like, leave your boats at home, dude. We'll take you out.
Yeah, we'll take you out.
Just fly up here, get an Uber to the hotel, and like, if we have to, we'll pick you up.
Yeah.
Leave your boat at home.
But it's funny because it's like, for the bait shop, you know, and especially like when it comes to walleye fishing, like, I want as many walleye guys as I can get through this building, right? Obviously, need to sell jigs, sell plastics, sell minnows, night crawlers, all that stuff. And then at the same time, it's like, dude, I think back to like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, back in my day, you know, I think back to it and it's like, you're the only boat fishing a drift, or you're the only boat fishing a spot. But we've come so far. Like, our fisher, like, whether you like it or not, we have a Cabela, like, Cabela's came out here. Like, it's no secret that this is only going to continue to grow. Hotels. You can't even book a hotel on like the Lake St. Clair system, July and August.
Good luck finding an Airbnb.
Yeah. And especially when St. Clair Shores, for example, they don't even have Airbnbs. So like, one of the best places to go, and I mean, not necessarily launch wise, there's not a lot of options, but like one of those places that you can go and get on these fish. So it's like, we need to kind of have like a good balance with it. Obviously, like we want you guys to come in and fish, just like don't steal our spots. No.
Oh, I had one of those today.
The thing is, they're like, my whole thing is they're gone. Like you guys come in from out of town, say you come in from Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, you come and fish, and I pull up in one day, like there's someone at my spot or whatever the situation is. As long as you don't drive by me and waypoint me, and then I see you there the next day, then I mean they're gone in 2-3 days. But it's unbelievable what it's done to like boost the economy in the area, and it's not going to be that way if we don't have that fishery.
Yeah, I mean, like one of your guys' earlier podcasts about fishing crowds and stuff. Like, if you're just respectful out there on the water, it goes a long ways. Like I lost a lot of respect for a couple of the Elite Series guys coming in driving in circles around boats. Like that's unreal. But like, and that's only a couple of the guys. 90% of them are fine; they do it the right way. But I mean, don't be that guy.
No.
There
is a right way to do it. Like, Louie and I say, if you walk in here and you have questions, you have stuff, we're never going to hide anything from you. Like, we're going to help you. It's why we started a podcast and we started the bait shop in the first place, and we do that kind of stuff. But if you're sneaky about it, if it's, like you said, it's driving by, marking waypoints, coming back, fishing, that kind of stuff, it's not good. There's plenty of people out here. There's plenty of resources to help out, and let's just keep the fishery going. Let's just keep the fishery going and keep it as good as we can possibly keep it, because like you said, we're spoiled, flat out spoiled right now. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you want to chime in as far as like the Lake St. Clair system and kind of where you think it's heading? I mean, I don't think it's going down anytime soon.
No, I mean, I think we've kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple years ago, the weights were higher. As far as the local tournaments, obviously like Bassmasters, they had their highest 4-day total ever here. But like you look at the BFL results from last weekend, 22 pounds won. I'm like, dude, that's
17 pounds. You said cash to check.
17,
it's like
12 cash to check. That's not impressive at all.
You should be able to you should be able to there should be plenty of 4-pounders out there where you can bring in a bag of 4-pounders and get your 20.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell Pete 20-pound bag. It's pretty easy. Really.
Yeah. I mean,
this guy out here catching 50-pound bags of walleyes in practice.
I can't even catch a 10-pounder. How am I supposed to catch 50 pounds of walleye?
No.
You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. I mean, but like, it's getting better too. Like, look at the Matt Horn Fishing Classic that they had a couple weeks ago, or last weekend. Like, all they call is smallmouth. That's awesome. Like, in a tournament, it's usually dominated by sheephead.
Sheephead and sucker.
Dude, smallmouth took the cake. That was awesome to hear.
Like, the numbers of smallmouth in the river are, like, through the roof right now. But, like, compared to years past, the size is definitely down. But you can go have those 60 fish days if you land on the right school.
Am I messing with you, dude? I'm messing with the mic over here. I apologize. Go ahead, Louie.
What was I saying?
Come on.
Louie was saying he can go out and catch 60 fish any day.
Not any day.
DM him if you think he's full of shit.
No, but like, the numbers of fish are definitely up.
Yeah. And I think like Joe said it really, the numbers are up, the size might not quite be there, but like, dude, there are so many 2 and 3 pound smallmouth in the system right now. And I don't know, because you can only have so much bait. Like, so I don't know, but we are in the Great Lakes, dude. Like, there's a lot of bait in Lake Huron. There's a lot of bait in the river. There's a lot of bait in Lake St. Clair. Haven't been to Detroit River since probably April, but there's a lot of bait in Erie. Like right now, we have a lot of bait, and that's, as long as that continues, I think the fishing will continue.
They got food, and we don't kill them all. They're,
yeah,
there's nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
Just gotta take care of them, especially those big ones, man. Like, there's no reason if you're fishing tournaments, one thing. If you're out fun fishing, and this really grinds my gears is when I see guides doing this, like keeping their 7 or 8 fish to take a hero shot at the end of the day, like that kind of
takes a toll on them, man. It really does, and it's like
putting a 90-year-old dude in a black padded van driving around on a dirt road, banging them up. I'm like, oh, dude, why did Ernest die today?
We can't release
I
him.
don't know, dude. Just walking around in a circle in a bean field.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's something to be said about it, man. Like our I shouldn't even say our fishery. Our industry is evolving. Like catch, quick picture, release.
Yeah.
Catch, quick picture. I mean, it's why our muskie fishing's so good. Really, it's why our walleye fishery continues to boom, is because like there's a lot of guys out there that just will catch our limit, but like there's days where I go out there and you just roll them back. There's a lot to be said about catch and release and properly treating these fish right, to make sure that we can catch them again next year.
It's one thing too, like if the water's cold, it's not real hot out, and you're on a school and you're spot locked on them, maybe you want to throw them in the live well for like until they stop biting. But
Right.
they're not gonna bite for like 8 hours straight, you know. So like as soon as they stop biting, slows down a little bit, take your picture then and let them go. You don't need to keep your 5 or 7 or 12 biggest. Take a picture at the end of the day. Take a picture halfway, let them go.
Right.
Like it's just, I don't know why that's so cool. It's so, I mean,
We just, yeah.
it's cool, like whatever, but it's like, dude, Billy Bob gets his 10% off at John Doe's Bait and Tackle. Like, dude, you're not gonna sell any baits by holding up 6 fish,
And if they're dead, you're not going to sell any baits.
right?
Like if they're dead, we got nothing to fish for anyway.
Yeah.
So just keep up the conservation efforts, guys. Honestly, like if you're watching this because you see that smallmouth in Lake St Clair and it's just booming right now, just take care of them.
Yeah.
Take care of them, because the fishery is gonna. I'm telling you, at least I hope. But with the bait and everything that we're seeing out there, and we're out there often, it should continue to keep going. Joe, why don't you let the people know where they can find you? Because obviously you're a guide.
Yeah.
So where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
www.lakestclairbass.com. Check me out there. Joe Bauer Fishing on Instagram. Smallmouth Heaven Guide Service on Facebook. There's links to my stuff on Pete's website too. There's links to Pete's website on my website. I mean, we're all call the shop. We'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
there's no one out, like, I'm not gonna say it to blow smoke, but there's no one else that I'd be sending guys out with in the middle of the lake. Like I have got guys call me and they're like, I want to catch smallmouth bass. Well, we can go target them, but if you really, really want to target them and you want to do it right, www.lakestclairbass.com. There'll be a link as well in the description, so you can find that. Probably right in like this area here will be your contact info. So check that out. Louie, what do you got for the people?
Just like, share, and subscribe.
Bet you guys didn't see that coming.
yeah, if you guys want to catch river fish,
Louie's books are open. He's done going up north. He already drank all of his cooler of cheer. He's ready to start guiding.
Yeah, getting back into it.
So, hey guys, we want to thank you again for tuning in. This has been an awesome episode. Again, if you want to find out Joe's information, the link's in the bio. Check out the banners throughout this episode. We hope you really enjoyed it. If there's anything else that you really want to hear, please drop it down below in the comments. Text us, email us, message us. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of us. As always, please subscribe, y'all, and tight lines. Adios.